Hello, everybody, and welcome to Greet the Week. This is Jan Moray, and I have my co-host here, Mona Duncan, who's going to be leading our discussion today. And we have a few guests on, and we appreciate having all of our guests online with us. And so, Mona, you're talking about change you, influence others. What's on your mind?
Right. Well, but ourself is the only one that we do have any control over, that we can do any changing about. And we are always I know, go figure. And we are always influencing others, and they are influencing us. And sometimes the way they influence us causes us to influence them in a way that later we're not so pleased with having influenced them in that way. And so it is looking at, and we're going to be caught about, like draws to like. And we as human beings are more alike than we are different. And sometimes we can be irritated by others. And obviously that irritation is within us, or we wouldn't be irritated by them.
Right.
Because we're more alike than we're different. And the law of attraction, we are attracted to those things that are like us. And again, whether it is the good like or the not so good like. So I thought as we begin to challenge ourselves, and influence others, so I came up with maybe three things. Well, what do? We notice our thoughts. We qualify our feelings. And we challenge our actions. Now, the front two wheels on our car, our behavior car, is that we are always thinking and acting, and they go together in tandem. And it's followed by our feelings and our physiology. And as we begin to work on the first two, the challenging, the noticing our thoughts and the challenging our action, but we also need to come in there because, as we talked last week at the very ending, they're also tied together and none of them works independently. That as we begin to also qualify our feelings, we can begin to get real honest with ourselves as, do I like the way I'm feeling? And if I don't like the way I'm feeling, as in irritated, and I hate to go to the negative, but that seems to be where we
don't like feeling them. Nobody says I don't like feeling happy, right?
Right. We're probably not going to complain about it if we are feeling happy and everything's going okay. But if we begin to qualify our feelings, then maybe we can get a handle on, do I need to change my thoughts? Do I need to change my actions so that they will be in tandem and that the feelings that follow will match what I'm thinking and doing?
Yeah, it will follow. I think I use that a lot when I'm having negative emotions, and try to say, okay, what do I know? What's going to help me to meet one of my basic needs? What kind of activity can I do? And I start doing that, and even though I don't really feel like doing it, and that frustration or anger or depression or whatever is still with me, after you start doing those things that you enjoy, you do start to feel a little bit better.
Yeah. And so in qualifying our feelings, so let's just say that you're interacting with, that person that has a tendency to irritate you for one reason or another. And you're interacting with them, and as you challenge your feelings, do I like what I'm feeling? Do I not like what I'm feeling? Do I approve of what I'm feeling? Can I feel something else if I change my thoughts? And then qualify that. Do I consider this a good feeling? Do I consider it a bad feeling? Am I willing to own the fact that I'm feeling the way I'm feeling?
I can do something about it.
Yeah. Not only, but first we have to own it before we can do anything about it.
A lot of people, they get stuck on that, owning it, that it's not anything I can do. I can't do anything about it. It's because this other person is doing this thing that's really irritating me.
Right.
And I think that's a real difficult concept for some people to accept, is that they have to look within themselves for a solution.
I went to visit a friend one time that had just gotten a promotion with a pizza company. And anyway, I went to visit her, and she was taking me through the studio, through everything, and it was plush as plush could be. I mean, it was fantastic. And she was just, showing me the boardroom and the leather couches and everything. And we went into the dining room. It was in one of those big historic homes down in Kerrville. Mm-hmm. And we were going into and they had a Nautilus gym on campus, and the employees were allowed to go there. And we went into the break room, which had been the dining room and the kitchen of the former mansion. And I mean, it was gorgeous. It was gold plated and crystal and everything. And as we went in there, and she was real proud of herself, and I could tell that she was, and I was just delighted for her to show me around. But as we walked into that room, on the table, there was a dead and dying plant and a deflated balloon. Someone had sent, a special thing to a person. And anyway, she looked at that, and she had this disappointment. She says, oh, those aren't mine. Well, I didn't think anything about it. It was just a past due flowers that had come that had died, and the balloon had deflated. But I didn't even think anything about it at the time. It was afterward that I thought about it, because I realized, if she owned those plants, if they had been sent to her, she could have thrown them away, taken that balloon, pressed it, kept it as a memento. But because she did not own it, she was embarrassed by it. Mm. And I began to realize that as we have to own whatever it is, we have to own it before we'll either decide, I'm going to keep this, or whether I would decide, I own it and it's mine, but I don't like it. Right. And I don't want to think that thought. I don't want to have that emotion. So therefore, then I have the privilege to discard it. But if we don't own it, then it's not ours, and we're wanting to fix somebody else's, because if they would do or say or act differently, then I would do or say or act differently. And we're giving our power to someone else, and we're disempowering ourselves.
Yeah, well, the thing that was going through my mind when you were talking about that is, you were describing this beautiful office building and stuff, and that plant with the deflated balloon, I guess, was an ugly spot.
It was.
And she was feeling that, my perfect place is not perfect anymore because somebody left this plant over here, and the fact that it concerned her enough that she had to mention it and say something. That
she mentioned it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But my point is the fact that if she had owned it, even if she had seen it previously and took care of it, or if she's owned it at that moment, she would take care of it.
Yeah.
But we have to own it. And if we don't own it, then there isn't anything we can do about it. Even though it's still, even if it is ours, those ugly emotions or those negative thoughts, even though they are ours, if we don't own them and then qualify them. Yes, I have this. I don't like it. I don't want that to be me, because deep down in my wisdom heart, I realize that's not the person I am. That's not the person I am becoming. That's not the person I want to be. And then we're in a position where we can change gears, where we can change our thoughts, where we can change our actions, where we can change our tone of voice, where we can change our facial expression.
Yeah. Well, especially, if it was her plant, then she does have responsibility to do whatever she wants with it. If it's not her plant, and she doesn't want to throw away something that belongs to somebody else, but if it bothers her enough, she does have choices there too, and how to confront that person and ask them to please clean it up instead of leaving it out there, or just accept that that's okay, even though there's this half-dead plant and a deflated balloon in her beautiful room. It doesn't detract from the beauty of the room. She brought more attention to it than would have been there if she had said nothing at all. You may not have paid much attention to it.
Right. And then also sometimes we get real upset about something that is someone else's, that, they own that behavior, whether they own that behavior or not, it is their behavior. And we can get real upset with them when we realize that they are, well, they may be our relative, and we may think they're an extension of us, but they're not. They're their own person. It's only as we own that they're representing me about what they're doing, and I'm embarrassed by it, that then we, take on garbage that we don't need to take on.
Right. I mean, that's what you end up doing when you're upset about something like that, is you're taking on something that really isn't yours at all. And
yes. And so it's realizing to work with what we can work with, and as we change ourselves, we are automatically going to be influencing others.
Yes. Yeah.
Automatically. I mean, we just can't not, because our feelings, our emotions, our being are there. It's palpable. It can be felt, it can be heard, it can be deciphered, it can be discerned, and it will make an impact of some kind. But as we continually qualify our feelings and then challenge our actions, and am I pleased by the way I'm acting and thinking, doing, and so forth.
And if I'm not, to understand that there are things you can do about it.
And to continually self-evaluate. And as we self-evaluate, not just against the situation itself, but also against the continual feedback and against our feelings, because our feelings follow, whether it is the emotional feelings or whether it is the physical feelings of getting real tense and uptight or getting sick, or and how many times have you ever heard something or said something you said, "Oh, that made me sick"?
Yes. Right.
And we think we're just saying words, but you know what, our body, we're saying things. Freud would have called it a slip. We're saying things that we don't know we know. But we know more about ourselves than we give ourselves credit for.
We do.
And whenever we say, "That makes me sick," guess what? We are acknowledging the fact that we are setting ourselves up to self-destruct health-wise, to add to the tension, to add to the problem. And so with Thanksgiving coming up, and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I have an article that I'm getting ready to put onto LinkedIn, and it's about in everything give thanks. And I'd like to share some of this with you and then get some comment back, okay? Just about being thankful. I am thankful for being born an American, where we have certain unalienable rights and where we are free to exercise them or to take them for granted or to ignore them.
Yeah.
I am thankful for the pilgrims who braved an angry ocean and withstood seemingly insurmountable hardships to blaze a country with the freedom to worship and to, be a self-producing nation and so forth. I'm thankful for our forefathers and foremothers and their insight and their wisdom of our Constitution and the many freedoms that Constitution affords us. Even though it has been abused and taken to extreme, I'm thankful for free speech.
Yes.
I'm thankful for the right to assemble. I am thankful for the peaceful parades and so forth. But then going down even more personally, I am thankful for my family of chance, realizing that as far as I know, I didn't have a choice. But once I'm a part of it, I do have choices. I'm thankful for parents who lived godly lives and taught me character, integrity, and appreciation for work. For my sister who begged for a sibling and then mothered me to a fault. And I'm thankful for my brothers, now deceased, who taught me to be tough and tender. I am thankful for my family of choice. And as we realize, I find it very, very humbling that I realized that Garland chose me, and I find it humbling that I chose him.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for my family of choice. The fact that, I married this gentleman who is secure enough in himself that he gives me the freedom to be who I am. I'm thankful for our daughter and our son-in-law and our 5 wonderful grandchildren and how funny and sweet they are. I'm thankful for assorted relatives who have touched my life in various ways, some good, some bad. But all of us are uniting us together as a family. And not only as a family, but, just I'm thankful for friends and neighbors and acquaintances and people that come on greet the week with us. And I'm just thankful for those special comrades who laugh with me, cry with me, grow with me, agree with me, disagree with me. I'm thankful for that. Very, very thankful for that. I'm thankful for each person who has touched my life in a special and unique way. But now this is what's going to take us into our discussion today. I'm thankful for those less obvious things. I'm thankful for misunderstandings, because those misunderstandings teach me to be a better communicator. I'm thankful for criticism, because it forces me to examine my actions, my attitudes, self-righteousness, and it leads me to repentance. It leads me to overcoming. It leads me to thinking new thoughts, to acting new ways, to having new emotions. It helps me to appreciate successes. I'm thankful for adversity, because it is in the winter that it looks like everything is dead, that the roots of those plants grow deeper to find nurture. And I'm thankful for that adversity, because it helps me to grow deeper, to find out what is really important, what is really worth nurturing. I'm thankful for financial reverses. They're not pleasant. None of them are, but I'm thankful for them, because it helps me again to be grateful not only for what I have, it helps me to begin to see what really has value. Is it stuff, or is it people, or is it things, and is it being together? I'm thankful for challenges that taxes every fiber of my being, because it forces me to grow in new directions. I'm thankful for dreams, for ideas, and for goals, for they keep me active and energetic and alive. And I am thankful for a contented mind and a grateful heart. And I have those primarily because I am learning, I am doing, and I'm learning more and more and more to notice what I think, to qualify my feelings as to whether they're acceptable, unacceptable, to me who I am now, to qualify them, and then to challenge my actions. That if those feelings that follow the thinking and the doing, if I don't like them, how can I challenge my thoughts and my actions so that I can be an influencer in a positive way?
Yeah, I mean, I like you're being grateful for adversity. So many times we push it away. We don't want to hear it, but it really is an opportunity to learn and to listen to another person's point of view. Because when you're around people who think just like you, and you end up talking about the same thing, you're kind of reinforcing each other, but you're missing another piece of it. There's always another side to a story. And even though people who don't have the same view as the people who are talking, I mean, you can get an uncomfortable feeling and don't want to say anything, but it's good to be able to say something, because you might say something they had never thought of before, or look at it from in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's providing information and giving you something else to think about. Not to say that what you're saying, what you're doing is wrong, but there's another point of view, and maybe to help understand the other side, even though you don't necessarily agree with it.
And in looking at how to think about those things and to kind of see them in a little different light, I mean, I think of computer, and the fact that I am not yet very all of that qualified in working with mechanical stuff. But sometimes whenever you're, trying to click onto a website or click onto something, and you think nothing's happening, and sometimes it's something as microscopic as seeing that little thing going in a circle, or the one little thing flashing, that you can look at that computer screen and you don't see it until you know where to look for it. And once you know where to look for it, and once you know the meaning behind it, then okay, well, I'll just sit here and wait a minute. It's thinking out there somewhere. And so sometimes if we will notice our thoughts and, ooh, I don't like that thought, it's not a good thought. And then we qualify our feelings. I'm confused, I'm frustrated, whatever our feelings are. And whenever we begin to realize there's something happening here in inner space, in outer space, in invisible space that I'm not aware of. But it can make a connection that makes me more aware and makes me more able to see what's happening. And then eventually, once those interconnected things connect, and it can, oh, now I see.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Or, to think about when you think that nothing is happening, to believe that, well, maybe something is happening. It's just, they haven't presented it to me yet, or the idea hasn't been fully developed. But just because there's nothing on the screen and you're not hearing any response doesn't mean that you're being ignored or pushed aside or whatever. It's just it's taking time to process an answer.
Charlotte put a little chat thing on there talking about John Maxwell, and something that he said one time that just so impacted me. John Maxwell says we change. There's only 3 reasons that we change on anything, because if it's working, if we think it's working, we keep on doing it. And he says we change when we hurt enough we have to. Something's got to give here. We learn enough that we're able to, because if something's not working, obviously we need more information. So whenever we hurt enough, we have to. Something's got to give. We learn enough that we're able to. And the third qualifier is that we experience enough we want to. And that goes with the thoughts and the thinking, feeling, the thoughts and the actions being the front wheels that drive our car, and the feelings and the physiology being the back wheels that follow. When we experience enough, when we learn enough that we can act upon it, then those feelings come more in alignment with, and we feel good about how we thought about something, how we acted towards something, the compassion that we gave. We feel good about the fact that the way we spoke up to correct the situation rather than to angering up to correct the situation and adding more problems to the situation.
Yeah.
That we can begin to see that they're running together, because all 4 of those wheels are working in tandem, because we are the ones that's in the driver's seat. And that doesn't mean that other people will understand. And that's one of the things that we have to be thankful for. That maybe for those misunderstandings, that maybe as we can have more of a connection together, and we can listen to and hear and be heard, that we can come to more of an understanding of, either to agreement or to disagreement. But even if it is disagreement, it is still a valuing the person for the value that the person has as a human being.
And that's the thing with relationships too. When you don't speak up and don't let people know that you disagree with what they say or how they're thinking, you're doing a disservice to yourself by holding that in. And if you say something, the other person may appreciate it. They may appreciate your honesty, or even appreciate that you feel safe enough to say that when they're around, to talk to them about that. And and so this whole thing about we always have to agree it's not a very healthy way to be. We want to encourage people to let us know when they disagree with us or have a little different opinion. And to have that discussion, because those discussions are good. They're healthy.
And having discussions that are meaningful and being careful that whenever heat is added to that discussion, that we begin to disengage, that we take a little break.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that it would not be discussed, and take ownership. I think I'm needing to take a little break here to regroup, but I want to hear more about this. I want to, or if we see it in them, and we don't want to call it out. So you're getting too hot. I can't handle this now.
Yeah.
Without any blame.
Or to say, I can't talk about this right now. I need to calm down a little bit. I need to think through it a little bit, because sometimes people do catch you by surprise with what they say, and your emotions are running pretty high at that point, and that really isn't a good time to talk about it. But it doesn't mean that there's never a good time.
Exactly.
You had a chance to think through it and tell yourself that this person is giving you a gift by telling you their opinion and how they disagree, and wanting to speak with you about it, instead of doing it in an accusatory or a negative way. But let's have a discussion about it. Let's see if we can come to an agreement. Agree to disagree, but at least try to understand the other side a little bit better.
And again, if not, still hold the person in high regard.
Right.
And again, notice your thoughts, qualify your feelings, and challenge your actions so that you can continue to hold yourself in high regard.
Yeah.
And if it, those self-evaluations, it's not
a lot of times when somebody will say something that upsets you, and then you start saying things that you might later regret, it's really only going to put you in a bad spot. And no matter who's right or who's the better person, I mean, that really doesn't matter. It's how you're responding to it that people are going to remember. And so if you handle the news gracefully and accept it well, then you will be looked up to, as opposed to, well, this person always gets so emotional, you can't ever tell her anything, or even though you're feeling those emotions, it doesn't mean that you have to act out on them. And maybe it is a good thing to say, I can't talk about this right now. Let's discuss it at another time.
Well, I know for all the years in working with the prisoners and in teaching concepts and so forth, and there would be disagreements with, and I would hear what they said, would give them their say, and then I said, okay, and then would go on. And I had this one guy, he said, I've never said, he says, you calm down. He said, I've never said, so you bring so much calm. I said, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And I said, well, just, okay. That's what you're saying. That's what you're thinking. I mean, I'm not going to dispute it, because if you're thinking that, you're thinking that. If you're feeling that, you're feeling that. Okay. And I receive it, but I'm not going to eat it.
Right. I'm not going to let that
we're going back to the point. And it's not to ignore, it's to acknowledge the fact that I acknowledge that, I hear you. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And again, I guess that could be, maybe saying that you would think that I was agreeing with them. Well, not necessarily. It's just, okay, you've voiced. And now it's back to the teacher, and I'll go on and look at what we're looking at. But you know what? I'm also going to think about it.
Yeah.
I am going to think about it. Because I never shall forget one guy, they said, do you really believe that? And I said, well, I think I do. But thank you for questioning that, because I'm going to really think about whether or not I believe that, call it karma, call it the golden rule, whatever that our thoughts become things. And the more I think about that, I really do believe that our thoughts become things. Whatever we think about, it either becomes more uniting with another person, or it becomes more disconnecting with another person.
Yeah.
Whatever we think about them, however we look at them, however we see them. And it's not.
It does come across. I mean, you can feel it sometimes. You know how a person is thinking about you. Uh, I don't know how to describe it, but you can tell a lot of times whether they like you, whether they don't like you, whether they agree with you. Even if they're smiling and nodding their head, you can tell if they're really saying this person is crazy.
Because our body, I mean, it all works in our physiology. And our physiology is our demeanor. It is our everything about us. And we all give off an aura. And, you know, some people that are more can see those auras. I don't know that I've ever seen anyone's aura, although I tell people quite frequently, I can see things about you you can't see about yourself. I can see that you're a winner. I can see that you're an overcomer. I can see that all that rebellion has just been misappropriated.
Yeah.
You know, it's there.
Topic.
It's just not been guided and directed and honed. And I can see that winningness, I can see that compassion. I can see it there.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to own it. We need to own it. And the thing of it is if others continually can see our anger and can see our belligerent, we need to own that too. Because whether they speak it, it will be forthcoming in the way we're treated.
Yes.
And in the air, just in the air, because it's palpable. It can be felt, it can be sensed. And so as we change ourselves, well, we're always influencing others. So as we change ourselves, we can be more content with. Content, that word content. You know, yeah, I'm content with how we've handled things, with how we think about things. Then we're in a greater position to be a greater influence on others.
Yeah, because you're not going to influence people if you become angry and lash out at them and don't listen to them. They're not going to pay any attention to you. You need to be respectful and accept them and try to understand where they're coming from. And then they're more likely to listen to what you have to say.
Well, our time is coming to an end. And so again, in looking at the fact of changing yourself and influencing others, I'd like to just repeat the three kind of building blocks that have come to my mind in thinking about this. Is to notice your own thoughts, to qualify your feelings, whether you like what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and then to challenge your actions. And as we work jointly on all three of those, then we kind of hit the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And it becomes productive and nurturing.
Well, thanks, Mona, for those good thoughts today. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, whether you have a lot of family or just a few people. I hope you have a good time. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.